Hey friends, and welcome to Gardening with Creekside. Today we're going to do a little hybrid video where Jerry and Jackson are going to be working here at the barn on the expansion, and because it is a gorgeous day. Today's gonna be like 75 degrees. Yep. It is insane. So they're taking advantage of the warmer, drier air and gonna be doing that. And then while they're working, we're gonna be talking and answering your questions. That's right. So I combed back through, I don't know, maybe the last month of comments on YouTube, found your questions, and we are going to answer them while they are working. So you're going to get your questions answered and see a little bit of real life action here at the nursery while the fellas work.
Yep.
Anything you want to talk about while Jackson's on his way with some of the equipment because he's going to hoist Jerry up in the air.
No, yeah, I mean, we're just Happy New Year to everybody. We've come out of the new year here, ready to roll.
Yeah.
You know, we're busy, things just going on here, just like you're seeing. We're going to talk about the barn, talk about the structure, talk about what we're doing. I have already, I don't know, do I even have the thing with me? Hold on. Yep. Yeah. I've already, run around and used my chalk line with a bubble level, and we used the bubble level from the existing structure over to each one of these posts, and I did this chalk line here and snapped a line that's the top of my post, and that's what we're going to get ready to do is cut everything off at the top. Then we're going to notch it out for all the beams that are going to attach to it. So as we're doing that, we're going to kind of explain it a little bit and answer the questions and that kind of good cool stuff. So I think that's cool.
Yeah. And so also just as like a little bit of an explanation, the reason that you're doing the chalk line and cutting it that way, when they put the post in the ground, they don't have to worry about setting the post at a certain level. You just get the post in the ground, and then we come back and get it exactly level and notch it out and everything.
Like a little bubble string level, and it goes on the chalk line, and then I find the level and pop it.
Yep. So each of the posts has that line all the way around, and so you're going to see him in action while we answer some questions. So I hear Jackson coming with the machinery, so we're going to get him.
And beware, listen, it's safe. He's coming with a cat with forks and a pallet, and I'm going to be on the pallet sawing. I've done this so many times on the ladder, that's actually more dangerous. The pallet, I'll have a steady footing and I can saw and make it look really nice. So no worries, folks, no worries.
Don't try this at home, folks.
Yes.
We are professionals.
Yeah, so we're busy in the pre-order season right now.
Oh my goodness, yes, it has come about, and we just got finished doing the shrub sale that all the shrubs were 35% off, and y'all absolutely gobbled those up just like I knew you would. If with those new introductions, we've already sold out of quite a few of them, and we are trying to get more. So we just have to make sure that Proven Winner Color Choice Shrubs has those available. We will restock the website. But if you're interested, like I know, like the High Five Fatsia is out, the Moonlight Mocha Clematis, it was out. I think Featherman Vitex was out. So if you're interested in those, go to that page, at that product page, and it says notify me when available. Click on that. You're going to put in your email, and as soon as Amber puts stock back on the website, you will get an email that says, hey, this item is back in stock. That's when you want to go ahead and order it. But these new introductions, it happens every year. So the new shrub introductions, there is going to be a limited amount of supply that even Spring Meadow Nursery has for us. So don't delay. If you're thinking about getting those new intros, get them because
we're right in the middle of big color now.
Big color, right. And so the annuals are going like crazy. The perennials, the Creekside Champions are going. And if you're not signed up for emails, I would highly suggest you do that because we have got a fantastic new collection of plants. That's all I'm going to say. A fantastic new collection of plants that is going to be hitting the website soon, very soon. So if you want to know about that first, sign up for those emails. Y'all have been asking for these plants. We have got these plants. It's a collection of 15 of them, and very, very excited. So the only way you're going to know about it first is to sign up for the emails, and you'll get that information.
Yep.
Yep.
So just going to get the cat down here, or we
Yeah.
can start. I can finish
Yeah.
marking off that post.
He can finish marking off the post. It's just going to be real life working here, y'all. So get comfy, get a good beverage. If it's cold where you are, get a warm one. If it's hot where you are, get a cool one. You just get comfy and let's just have some fun together. So he's where he'd already done the chalk line. Of course, the chalk line's only on one side. So then he uses the speed square to go around and mark the other sides. So while he's doing that, he's up on the ladder being nice and careful. I have your questions. Now, these questions are in no particular order, and we're going to just have some fun going back and forth between him, me, your questions. Why not, my friends? Why not? So, first question is from Felix. Says, hi, how often do you water hydrangeas after transplanting in the fall? So without a doubt, one of the most common popular questions is all about watering. And watering is probably one of the hardest things for us to answer as far as how to do it exactly, because it's going to depend on your temperature, it's going to depend on how much rainfall you get, what kind of soil you have. But as a general rule, when you are transplanting shrubs or any kind of plant, you want to make sure that they have the adequate water for the first couple of weeks. Now in the wintertime, it's cooler, you're probably going to be getting more rain. So for us, I really think about them for the first like 2 weeks or so. You want the soil damp and moist, but not soaking wet. So that's kind of a hard thing to answer. So maybe if you don't get any rain and you have clay soil or really kind of good soil that holds the moisture, maybe once a week. If you have lots of rain, then you don't need to do it at all. You do not want to drown the plants. That is the worst thing. Too much water is more harmful than not enough water. So hopefully that helps. All right.
Yeah, so I'm going to run the circular saw up there and cut it around, and it can only go a little over 3 inches, not enough to cut all the way through the post, so I have a sawzall to get the last little bit.
Yep.
Yep. So Jackson's coming with the cat right now. We're going to jump up there.
Sounds good. All right, so while we're working on one project, we're going to switch over to another project that we just completed, and that is the loading dock. So up at the production, we had a dock installed. Our friends at Carolina Landscaping did it for us, and they did a phenomenal job. This will make our life so much easier with deliveries and so forth. So Pat Rice says, the dock is such a game changer. Will you put bumpers on the dock? Inevitably, someone will bump it and maybe a little too hard. So yes, absolutely. We are going to put those bumpers on the dock. In fact, they just arrived the other day. So we're going to do that. He has everything that he needs, the bolts and everything. So if you don't know what the bumpers are literally these big pads that you put on the dock. So when a truck backs up, they're going to tap, right? Because you got to get as close to the dock as you possibly can. You don't want them to tap the concrete, because over time that could absolutely crack it if they hit it too hard. That could mess with the infrastructure and the infrastructure. What do you call that? I don't know what that word would be. I guess infrastructure, whatever, holds it together. And so those pads act like that actual bumper that helps protect everything. So yes, those are coming. So now he's on the phone. I tell you, it's always something around here. And then Julia says, when we were working in the cottage garden, is the time here in North Carolina where we're doing still lots of like fall cleanup and getting beds prepped for the springtime, setting them off on the right foot. And we were in the cottage garden, and I have my Amsonia hubrichtii, which I absolutely love this perennial. And there is a dandelion that has been growing in this center of the Amsonia for quite a while. And so I was talking about that, and Julia says, I'm glad you showed the weed in your Amsonia, because it reminded me to ask, what would happen if you paint an herbicide on just the leaves of the weed? Is it too risky being so close to the Amsonia stems? If the stems are dormant, is it safe? And I would say absolutely. It was just in that moment, and honestly, I wasn't even thinking about it, but you could use any kind of herbicide, whatever you prefer, right? And then get that paintbrush and either kind of try to trim the weed and then paint it or paint the leaves. The only thing would be about like this time of year would be if certain herbicides have to have a certain temperature in order for them to be effective. But that dandelion being nice and green, you absolutely could have used that. And it would not have harmed the Amsonia at all, because yes, the stems are dormant and not an issue there at all. Update on what you're doing?
Yeah, we're just coming over to the next post. I was listening to your questions.
Yep.
Yep.
So talking about the weeds that are growing inside of a plant, you know, that dandelion that I've had, because dandelions have massively long tap roots.
Yeah.
And somehow, because somebody said, well, maybe it's time, maybe that means you need to split your Amsonia. Well, no, the Amsonia is not at all thin in the middle. I mean, I could divide it if I wanted to, but I don't want to. I like it nice and big. It's just that dandelion got hold and found a way in there, and it's really hard for me to get it out because of that deep, deep taproot.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
They'll be here until the end.
Yes, exactly. They'll survive the nuclear holocaust. Somebody was asking though about the bumpers on the dock.
Yeah, so we ordered 2 bumpers. They're 14 inches wide and 2 feet long. So they're going to go in this direction here.
Mm-hmm. Vertical.
Vertical, sorry.
That's okay.
Vertical in this direction. Standard is from inside to inside of the bumper is like 84 inches.
Oh.
So that way when the truck comes in, and then we have to get a dock plate, that way we match up with that gap.
Right. So the dock plate, like what, do you flip it over or does it stay out? How does that work?
Pick it up and just lay it down.
Yeah. So that way then you don't have a hole between the dock and the truck, and so if they have racks, it just slides right off.
Yeah, and then your pallet jacks.
Your pallet jacks and all that other stuff, right? So you don't have a ba-dump and get stuck in a hole in the gap.
Yep.
Yep. All right. We're going to get out of the way and let him do this one, and then we'll answer another question. All right. Next question comes from Kathy, and in that garden cleanup that I have been doing, this is where this question came from. And Kathy says, would you tell me where you got the hand rake you used to clean up around the plants? Y'all, this little hand rake is absolutely fantastic. I found it from another company, loved it so much that we now offer it online. So you can actually order it from our website. I will try to remember to link that. So whenever we have videos, I will list up those products at the top of the YouTube. Like you can look at the products that we talk about. So you can click on that link and it'll take you straight over there. But that little hand rake I love it because it's nice and long. And so it is perfect for getting up underneath shrubs. And since it's thin, you can stick it up into there underneath the stems, get those leaves or debris or whatever it is out. And it makes it so much easier. I guess maybe even a little safer than sticking your hand, because I know some people are a little nervous about sticking their hands in where they don't know what may be in the debris. It doesn't bother me. But if you're having issue with snakes or spiders or whatever, then using that hand rake, of course, is a safer option, and it just helps make the work so much more efficient. So love that little hand rake that we have available on the website. And then Gardening Granny asks, question, can you leave the fall leaves and put your compost on top to help amend the soil there in North Carolina? And so because a lot of times, especially in the beds that are right there up at the house, like in the forest pansy bed, when we were cleaning that area up, Mimi and I were cleaning it up, I did remove those leaves. Now, the reason that I'm removing those leaves is because, one, they were super, super thick in there. I knew that I had weeds growing in there. I actually had trees because we are blessed where we live in North Carolina that we have an abundance of trees. So I had little poplar saplings, maple trees, all of those had taken root just from seeds from the trees that we have naturally around us. So we had trees growing in there, I had some briars in there, and I also had some snails that were in there. So I removed those leaves. Then I would have put, you know, in this bed I didn't, but you could put the compost and the mulch. That bed is nice and amended. If the leaves are not crazy thick, then yes, you could put the mulch on top of it or the compost on top of it. But if your leaves are really thick and you know you already have a problem with snails and slugs, or you suspect that you've got a nice patch of weeds growing in there, then that, you know, of course, you need to take care of that because that's only going to manifest and get bigger as the season goes on. So what Mimi does a lot, of course, Mimi, my mama, she likes to, this is her favorite thing to do in the fall, is that she goes around and she and Jackson will work together a lot, and they'll blow the leaves into a pile, and then she takes her mower and runs over it multiple times and chops those leaves up and then breaks it down into little small pieces, so that leaf litter mulch, and then adds that back around her plants. So that way it's not this thick, compact mat. It actually allows, you know, the water to get through, the aeration to get through, and then breaks down a whole lot faster. So that is an option. But you could, as long as the leaves are not crazy thick. But just like looking around right here, we have so many trees that oftentimes wherever the leaves gather, it is really, really thick. And then Juanita says, this is kind of funny because Juanita's question comes from the video that's somewhat similar to this one, in the fact of we were back in the back of the woodland, the signature garden along the wood line, and we were planting some camellias and the cedar rapids. And so in the video we were planting in real time and just showed you exactly how he and I work together, much like today. And I said in the video that Jerry and I have two very distinct different styles of how we plant. I tend to be much more nurturing, like gentle, it is a slower pace than what he is when he plants. And so it's personality difference. You can say male versus female. You can say a gardener versus like more of a landscaper. He just takes the plants and slaps them in the ground. I mean, very tough or rough on the plants. It's quite comical to see the difference between the two of us. So Juanita says, I love the way you both complement each other when planting. I did notice when Jerry planted, he didn't check out the roots like Jenny did. Will there be a difference with the growth? Probably at the end of the day, no, there's not going to be. But Cece and I do joke. So Cece's our garden center manager and we plant a lot together. And she and I have very similar planting styles. And so we joke, we're like, if our plants thrive and we know the plants that Jerry's plants didn't, then we know that we can say, well, he just slapped them in the ground. But y'all know that's just joking. He absolutely knows what he's doing, but he is much tougher on the plants than I am. But we always say that plants are a lot tougher than we give them credit for. It just makes me feel better to nurture them and break up the roots a little bit. And he will, like if the plant is root bound, he absolutely will break up the roots and take care of it. But yeah, no. Probably at the end of the day, no, there won't be any way to tell what I planted versus what he planted. All right, so what he's doing now is, the sawdust is coming. So on these first two posts that are lower, all he had to do was cut them off flat, level, because the posts are going to sit, that top plate's going to sit on top of it. What he's doing now is actually notching in or making a notch in the top of the post, because when we tie in, we're going to have a beam that actually sits on those posts. So he's notching in a section. Let me show it to you. All right, y'all, I don't know if the camera is showing it. One, I found myself a little step stool from the wood, so that's why he and I are more the same height now. But I don't know if you can tell that he is covered in sawdust. He was doing this yesterday too. And I made him strip before he came in the house because he has sawdust little trails everywhere.
Yes.
But he does have his safety goggles on, so there you go, protecting his eyes. So this is a good one for Jerry to talk about. So Shelly says, I've always wondered what that bright green food is that is put on plants in their nursery cans. Can consumers buy it, or is it just for growers? So the bright green, slow release fertilizer that we have started using as well, but a lot of wholesale growers use. So
yeah, Harold's is the brand name of that fertilizer. There's a gazillion different types of formulations. We use one that is really meant for perennials, but you can use it for shrubs. You just have to apply it twice through the season to make it through the entire season for the food. But it's a good, nice release of fertilizer. We have found it works really well with the plants. Consumers, unless a garden center like us just happens to be carrying it, that's probably about the only way that you're going to find it. I don't know of a I know Site One. I don't even think Site One carries it.
But like we found, we were planting something just the other day. I think it was some hydrangeas, and it was a bright blue fertilizer. So I don't know who that is. Harold seems to always be green.
Yeah, green.
But of course, like the if you're doing annuals, then the Proven Winners, that continuous release, which is just a brown pellet, then that's really great for annuals. But another option too that is great for consumers as far as the slow release is Osmocote. So Osmocote is a great slow release, still pelleted. I think it's brown as well though. But I think maybe they have different formulas for different plants with the Osmocote.
Oh yeah, yeah. There's higher nitrogen, phosphorus, potash, all that together.
Yeah. So if you can't find Harold's, which is mostly for growers, then I would say the next one would be Osmocote, as far as like for your shrubs and your perennials, that kind of stuff. Like if you like the pellets, that would be a good one.
Maybe we'll get up here and do this other notch.
Yes, because you have 3 more to do.
Yeah, we're notching now. I got 3 more on this side to cut off, but this will take a little bit of time to notch these out.
Do you notch these too? Or does the plate sit on top of these?
No, they have to all be cut off, then notched.
Oh, so every single one of them does?
Yeah, every single one of them gets cut off the top and then notched.
Right. So well, I knew you had cut the tops off of these, but I didn't. I thought the plate just went on top of it like that.
No, there's a plate that goes on top, but then there's a beam that rides in the notch.
Gotcha.
It comes from that side of the barn all the way to here.
Okay, so I told you wrong when I said that he doesn't have to notch these. He does. He has to notch all of them.
All of them.
So they all have to be cut off level, and then they all have to then be notched.
Yes.
Okay, sorry.
To fit the board. This is a different size beam on this one. It's not as tall as these here. So that's like a 9 1/4 inch deep notch, 3 inches. I mean, well, length, whatever you call it.
Yeah. I got you. Okay.
Yep.
Understood. Got it. All right, so we're just going to let them keep working, and then I will continue to answer some of your questions. Oh, yeah, this one's a great one. So this is, again, working in the signature garden, those outlying gardens, and Nan Min 2013 says, everything is going to look so beautiful as it grows to maturity. Question, will you be planting any more tea olives anywhere in the area? I know that you love those as well. Absolutely. So we do not have any tea olives here on this portion of the property at the garden center. We have some right when you come across the creek and when you're entering into, we have some right there on the corner that this fall, oh my gosh, they were divine. We don't have any over here. I absolutely am going to be adding in tea olives, and that's the perfect spot to do it, is in the back side of the signature garden, because I have found that the tea olives, the sweet osmanthus, the sweet olive, whatever you want to call it, depends on the region that you live. They do really, really well here. Of course, they love the sun, but the ones that have the best flowers and fragrance also get a break from the hot, intense afternoon sun. And so the back of the garden is the perfect spot to do that. I just need to figure out which variety I want to add. That's the fun thing about with the Proven Winner Signature Garden, is that we are not limited to only Proven Winner plants. We just have to have a really great representation of the annuals, the perennials, the shrubs, and yes, even the trees from Proven Winners Proven Winners does not at this time have a sweet osmanthus, and so I can easily add that to the garden. And plus we have got tons of, we have an abundance of Proven Winner plants over there. So that's why we can add some of those non-branded or non-Proven Winner plants to that garden. But there will absolutely be tea olives in this garden because we are in North Carolina, is Zone 8A, and I am embracing all that those southern gardens have, and you gotta have some tea olives if you're a southern garden. So for sure we'll be adding those. Boo, that's not your rock. I mean, that's not yours. Yeah, you can't do that. All right, so for this next question, I had to have a prop. We're gonna let Jerry, he's working here in the background, so y'all can watch him or you can watch me. You can watch us both. All right, so this question came from I can't even see this, my eyes, PN 1123. And so they say so many changes, so much to look forward to. So, Jenny, how do you tie the scarf you are wearing? It's so pretty, I'd like to know how to do that. So when it is cool, I do enjoy a good scarf, and I guess it's because years and years ago when the kids were little, I had a very short pixie haircut, like short pixie. And in the winter, you know, your neck gets cold. Your hair will insulate and keep the back of your neck warm. So when I had that short haircut, I wore scarves a ton in the wintertime. And so I learned how to tie them in different ways. So I've had people ask me this question for years and years and years, and I never really had the opportunity to really answer it. So this is the perfect time. All right, so take a regular scarf, right? So this is just a scarf. You can do any kind of scarf. If it's kind of wide like mine is, just bunch it up. Hold it in the center, right? So it's got equal lengths. So you've got a loop. So take the scarf around your neck so that you've got the loop right here. So with your one hand, pick up one corner, right? So one strand, grab it, pull it through, okay? So you've got your loop here. Now, you've got the one strand through. Twist it, put your hand in, and pull the other one through. And then you've got this really pretty knot, and of course, I know my mic's right there, so who knows what this is sounding like. So you can fluff it up. So then it looks like it's all intertwined together, and you can, of course, make it look pretty, but then it's a nice short scarf, so it only hits right mid-chest, and it's not hanging down so far. So super simple. Show you again. Have the loop, grab one, pull it. So you got the loop, twist it, hand, grab, pull through. Oh, there you go. So that's how you tie a scarf, at least this way. There's a million other ways, but this is probably my favorite because I do love a scarf, but it drives me crazy when they're super long. So, and this just makes it look fun. Next question comes from Traylon. A lot about, of course, we're doing a lot of pruning, a lot of maintenance, you know, taking care of the garden. And they were asking, I always want to prune my hibiscus back in February. Is that okay? And I tell y'all this all the time. So your hibiscus are going to bloom on new growth. So the hibiscus family, so whether it's like a summerific perennial hibiscus or if it's a Rosa Sharon, because the Rosa Sharon is a type of hibiscus, they bloom on new growth, so you do want to go ahead and prune them. Now, depending on where you live, February could look very different than my February. My February, oftentimes we have crazy cold, but we could also have warm days. Plants even can start to wake up during that time. If you're covered in snow and it's super cold and snowy, then no, you're gonna wanna wait probably a little bit. But I don't feel like that's where you are. You're probably more like me. Yes, you absolutely can. Your hibiscus are very tough, and they absolutely can handle go ahead and getting cut back. In fact, before I knew that you weren't supposed to trim your summerifics hibiscus, those perennial hibiscus, until like late winter going into the spring. Oh, he's throwing things at me. Is that a longer sawzall? Bigger saw or bigger blade? More power? Tim the Tool Man. Jerry the Tool Man Taylor. Jerry the Tool Man Simpson. There we go. Yes, you can prune it back in February. You'll be fine. They're tough. They can handle it, and you'll be fine. it just drives us crazy seeing all those stems. Just cut it to the ground, no problem. If it's a perennial hibiscus, cut it to the ground. If it's a Rose of Sharon, just give it a good, healthy trim and you'll be fine. There we go. Moving right along, isn't he? So going with that pruning, because people have with watering, pruning is also like probably the number 2 question that we get asked about, like how to, right? So with pruning, there's a lot of questions. So Monica says, hey, are you supposed to prune azaleas? I live in Atlanta, Georgia. As a general rule, you don't really need to prune azaleas. All azaleas will bloom on old growth, so they all bloom on old growth. Some of the newer varieties will also bloom on new growth, so old and new. So those repeat bloomers. So your Perfecto Mundos from Proven Winners, your Encore azaleas, all of those bloom on both old wood and new wood. If you have the old-timey azaleas that just bloom in the spring, then they bloom on just only on old growth, because they're a one bloomer and then they're done. If you want to prune your azaleas to keep them in a nice tidy habit, or they've gotten too big or what have you, then you absolutely can prune them. If it's the old-timey azalea, well, regardless, you want to prune them immediately after their spring flowers, okay? So if you have the old-timey ones, you can go ahead, prune them after they bloom in the spring. So that's what Mimi has, is all of hers are the one and done kind of blooms. So she'll even prune hers up to probably like beginning of July. The thing is, you want to prune them and then have plenty of time for them to flush back out in the summer, so they have time to set their buds for the next spring. If you have the repeat bloomers, the Perfecto Mundos or the Encores, then I would still encourage you to prune them after the spring flowers. What's probably going to happen is you're going to miss possibly your summer flowers, but you should be able to get your fall flowers and then definitely your spring ones. But regardless of what kind of azalea you have, optimally, if you need to prune them, would be after the spring flush. Other than that, if they look good and the shape's pretty and you like the way they look, don't worry about it. Just leave them alone. Next question comes from KMCTE5. It says, morning Jenny, could you give us a link to the copper tags that you use, please? Absolutely. So that's another one of those products that I had found. Use them in my garden all the time, love them. We now offer them online. So I will tag those up in the products, try to remember to put them in the link, but they are on the website. So you can head over to gardeningwithcreekside.com and they are available there. They are fantastic. So they have the metal prongs that go in, and then they have the copper plates that they look really pretty in the garden. So you could use a Sharpie if you wanted to, or if you had like a wax pencil, you could use that. We have also, what I have found works the best, because even a Sharpie over time fades in the sun. So we have the garden marker, like it's UV protectant, so it does not fade. And so that's what I use on all of my tags, whether it's the copper tags or if I'm doing like vegetables in the vegetable garden, I'll write on the little wooden stakes on those as well. So we have both the marker and the tags. Love them. They are fantastic. And then I got a question. We get this question a lot. This is from Nan. So I noticed your hat and sweatshirt today. Do you just like Clemson, or does a family member go there? I love seeing what hat you will be wearing. Seems like you have hundreds of them. Thanks for your videos. I look forward to each day to see what will be. Are you and Jerry going to plant the house side of the berm before long? So a couple of questions in there. So first, the Clemson. So yes, we are huge Clemson fans. Jerry and I did not go to Clemson. He went to Western Carolina in the Cullowhee, North Carolina. I went to Appalachian State in Boone. So we were both mountain colleges, universities. He was born in Anderson, which is just right outside of Clemson. Our daughter goes to Anderson University, which is right outside of Clemson. But more importantly, like his whole side of the family lives in Clemson. So there's a huge tie from his family into Clemson. My mama's side of the family, Low Country, South Carolina, they all went to Clemson. And so we have, like, our families are very much tied to Clemson, and we grew up being associated with Clemson and being raised in that Clemson culture. We were actually married for about 10 years when I discovered through my grandmother had kept my granddaddy's album from Clemson when he was there in the 40s. So my granddaddy died before my parents got married, so obviously I never met him. But Grandmama kept his albums, and so I was looking through it we, like I said, been married maybe 10 years, and discovered that Jerry's granddaddy and my granddaddy were classmates at Clemson at the same time, and they knew each other because his granddaddy had signed my granddaddy's album. It was the coolest thing. Of course, we had no idea up to that point that they knew each other. We knew that they both went to Clemson, but what's crazy, so they were there in the 40s. They both went off, of course, and fought in World War II, like, you know, all men did when the war was happening. My granddaddy was in a tank division, so he, you know, drove tanks. His granddaddy flew massive, like, cargo planes for the Army. They both, you know, came back home alive, married, kids, and then that their grandkids got married. Crazy. We just hate that his granddaddy, he had passed away, and then I think maybe he had passed away at that point. But I just wish we had realized it earlier in our younger years and could have told Granddaddy Simpson about that. That would have been a really neat thing. So we just have really strong ties to Clemson. Megan, who is our middle child, she is a senior in high school, so we shall see if she goes to Clemson. Time will tell. And then, yes, as far as planting the house side of the berm, that is the plan. It just keeps getting pushed back. We have the plants, it keeps getting pushed back because of projects like this. And so it won't be hard to do. I'm thinking that we're probably maybe like in late February, early March, we'll get that planted because I want to get them in before the heat of the summer hits. So it's coming, it just keeps getting pushed down the list like sometimes projects do around here. So as most of you know, we have our German Shepherd Brenna, who's always pretty much close by me at all times. And so we just hit our 4-year anniversary with Brenna, and from the very beginning, as soon as she began to was with us and was in videos, she absolutely adores grabbing the nursery pots when I am done with them. And she has provided, I don't know how many hours of entertainment of running around and playing with these pots. And I know that she has kept y'all entertained plenty. And then user blah, 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 blah says, just curious, what does Brenna do with the pots? Well, she has the most fun with them, first of all. She does not eat them, so don't worry. People were like, oh my gosh, she's swallowing plastic. No, she's not. She's a smart dog. She knows not to eat the pots. But really what she'll do is just plays with them. So she'll like throw them up in the air. Of course, then they bounce, and she chases them, she pounces on them. She loves to crush them. She loves, yes, you'll see her like biting and pulling. She is a German Shepherd. She loves to bite and pull on things, but she does not eat the plastic. She will just absolutely destroy the pots, which is, you know, for me, is most of the time it's fine, other than I have to go behind her and clean up. I haven't taught her yet how to clean up her mess, you know, but maybe one day we'll get there. Next question comes from Lori. When we were working on the front porch and we were kind of saying goodbye to the fall arrangements and putting in the winter arrangements with the Sting Arborvitae and the Everillo Carex in the urns. And so Lori says, very pretty porch. I do have a question. Do you cut back the Carex grass in the spring before new growth? Thank you. So with all perennial grasses, that's pretty much what you do, right? So the foliage will die back in the winter time. Then before you get new growth in spring, you cut it, shear it way far back before that new growth comes out. That's the beautiful thing about a Carex grass, is that it's evergreen. And so no, like I never cut my Carex grass. You just leave it alone. Now, the way that you can clean it up if you need to is sometimes the very underneath the plant, the Carex grass, those leaves will die. And so what I do is I just have my gloves on and I just go in there and like run your fingers through it and kind of pull it. And so any of the dead leaves on there will come out, but that is it. So another reason to love Carex is that it's evergreen and you don't cut it back. You just leave it alone and run your fingers through it if you need to get that dead stuff out. Alrighty, my friends. So we have answered the questions that I had gathered. Of course, if you have questions for us, feel free to always leave them in the comments. I try to do a good job of answering them as they come in real time, but sometimes I miss them. So then when we do videos like this, it's really fun to kind of answer your questions. And then Jerry is on, you've got that one. And
I
then
got
one
the top shot off on this one, notch it. Saw top off, notch it, and then we got the hard part done.
The hard part done. So then what's the next step?
Beams.
Beams. And you can use the machinery to do that.
Yeah, we're gonna build out beams, 2x10s on this side, ties the existing barn to the new addition. On his side, that side, and then that shed roof is a 2x8. These are doubles, and then another one goes on top of them.
And then I'm assuming do you have to tie them in this way?
Yes, there eventually will be a beam that ties underneath that beam, underneath the notchish area.
Yeah.
From this post, that post, this post, that post. We have another post to put in, and we're probably going to have to put one in the center right here.
Gotcha. Yeah, because there's one over there.
Yeah, this one here in the center of these two posts, that's what's going to tie the whole barn together. It keeps it pulled in so the roof doesn't do like this.
Yeah, gotcha.
So ours is different on the other side, but this one's going to be done differently.
Gotcha.
It's because this ceiling is going to be open.
Yes.
And we haven't decided what we're going to do about the loft yet.
No, we haven't.
But I hate to give up the space, so.
Yeah, and this can be open, and then we can.
Yeah, yeah. We'll have to redo that side.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's all going good.
All right.
Yep.
Carry on. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
All right, y'all, so there you go. Of course, we will keep you updated on all of the progress here at the barn. I told Jerry because the garden center reopens on February 21st, and I was like, okay, dude, you got a deadline. So we got to get this done as much as possible by then. If the whole thing could be done by February 21st, that would be amazing. But definitely get it, the structure up, the roof on. He says he will have a roof on by February 21st. So we will see. Basically, he has 2 months to do it. But we only have a couple, tens of thousands of plants arriving beginning very, very soon. So we're going to go then into production mode of planting. So it's never quiet or boring around here. Things have slowed down a little bit as far as because the garden center is closed until that February 21st. But anyway, so if you're going to be in the area or you want to make a plan, put it on your calendar because it's going to be a great day when we reopen for the 2026 season. We're going to have food trucks here. It's just going to be a great time. Fingers crossed, prayers said that the weather will cooperate and it will be a gorgeous day like today to welcome you back into the garden center. As always, we so appreciate you. We would love it if you would like and subscribe. That way you don't miss those 5 videos that we do each and every week. Y'all have an amazing day. Let them get back to work. And I'm going to go put some plants in the ground. See y'all next time. Bye, friends.